Hey guys, good morning. So today is the day you've been waiting for, placed features. So we're gonna, instead of having to sketch everything in or use primitive direction, we're gonna use some tools to help make some shapes for us. So first thing, probably the most common one is fillet. So you pick fillet, pick an edge, grab that edge and bring back. If you hold control, you can pick multiple edges and it'll fillet all of them at once. So there we go. That's fillet. This is the regular fillet, the constant radius. There's also a chord length, which instead of doing the radius, does the length between the two tangents, or a variable radius. So if we go here, we can click here, and now I can change the radius at both points independently, or I can add new points in the middle that I can change those. So now this kind of changing this fillet as it's going through the part. There's also in fillet the corner time instead of rolling ball. So if I do 3 edges with a constant radius, that one out here is going to be the same radius. If I pick setback, then it's going to pull it back a little bit more. Okay, so those are a couple different ways to do fillets. I just throw one on the side here, just so I have it. All right. We also have chamfer. Pick an edge. I'll go down. It'll automatically do a 45-degree chamfer. You can also tell it to do either 2 distances, where now you can control those 2 distances separately, or you can do a distance and angle, where now you control the angle and you control the distance. So if I go into that chamfer, distance and angle, I pick that edge, I can go out and I can rotate that angle on it. Usually equal distance is what's used most often. I also have draft, where I can pick something to define the direction, and then I can pick the face I want to change. So I pick full direction there, and I pick the face I want to change, and now I can make that face change its angle. If I had a sketch, I could also pick a parting line to tell how to do it only on part of the face. So we have shell. So I pick shell and I pick on this, and I can give it a thickness. So going inside, going outside, so it'll just add to what I already had. Or I can tell it both, and it'll go a certain distance on the inside and a certain distance on the outside. Don't usually use this at all. I usually use inside or outside. So if I'm making a pipe or something that I draw the outside shape, their outside size, and I just want to make it hollow, I can use the inside thickness. Also, if I notice this, one side is not open. I only open this top side. So if I rotate around, then I hold control, pick this other side, and now it's all the way through. Okay, so that's inside. If I was going to do if I was going to model a phone and I want to make a case of it, I'd draw the phone, and then I would do an outside shell, so that way I'd get the shell outside the surface of where my model of the phone was. Okay. Combine is if you have 2 bodies you want to join into one body. So we're gonna do hole. Hole's a really good command when you need to make a hole. Don't draw a cylinder and extrude it, or draw a circle on a sketch and extrude it, or use the cylinder primitive to make a hole. Use the hole command. If I pick the hole command, I can pick on the face. If I just pick the edge, it's going to go over there and it's going to line it up and make it concentric. Or I can grab it over and I can just click on the edge, and I can tell it how far to be from that edge. Don't press enter or else it's going to finish the command. So I can do that. I can change the diameter. I can change the depth. You can see that it does put the little point on the bottom of that. So why is that there? Well, that's because drill bits have that point. And so that's going to tell the person that that's a hole that's going to be drilled. It's flat bottom, it has to be milled, so it costs more. So down here we can see some other options. I can see the distance. So just if I want to make it a blind hole that doesn't go all the way through, I can say 2 to go to a surface, or I can say all to make it go all the way through. I also have the options here. Do I just want it a simple hole top? Do I want it counterbored? So that gives me a counterbore there, or a countersink, so where it's angled at the top. I'll just click over here and make it centered. Okay. And then down here, I can adjust the size of all those things. The second row here gives me a couple options. Simple, just a simple home toilet, what diameter to be, and everything. Clearance, though, now I can pick a screw size. So if I go to ANSI Unified Screw Threads, which we'll talk about in 44 class what those are. And because I picked a countersink, I can see 2 different options for flathead screws, one at 100 degrees, one at 82 degrees. So you can see if I click the 82, that angle there changes to 82. If I was on a counterbore, now I have options for a hex head bolt, a hex head machine screw, or a socket head cap screw. And then I have a size. So I'm going to say I want to use a socket head cap screw, and I want it to be a 1/4 inch diameter bolt that's going through. And I want a normal fit, and you'll see that here that the actual hole size is 266, not 0.25, because it's allowing extra space so the holes aren't lined up perfectly, and just so you can get the bolt through. If I said loose, it's going to open up even more. If I say close, it's going to get even tighter. Okay, so I have that option. I also have a tapped option. So now it's actually going to make the threaded hole. And if I click this model button, it'll actually make those threads. Okay, so I say okay, and there it is. If you do the model threads, though, there's one thing we do need to add a chamfer to the top in order to get those to work. And so you kind of find where the point is here, and click that piece, and we do a chamfer, kind of the size of one thread. And you can see it over here. As soon as that goes down like that, that means you're into the next thread. And now you could print this out and it'll work. Without doing that chamfer on the top, it's not going to work. It's going to get stuck. So same thing here. Find where the thread ends. Pick the next segment. Do a chamfer. Now those threads will actually work. Okay. If I had a cylinder on it somewhere, so here I'm going to make a cylinder sticking up. Let's make it 3/8. I want to extrude that up. I can add threads to this by going to create thread and picking on that. And because it's solid diameter is 3/8, I automatically picked a 3/8 thread. If I pick modeled, there's the thread. If I don't want it full length, I can uncheck that and I can tell it how long to be. It's going to do the same thing here, that thread won't work. So I go to I go to the next little piece, modify chamfer. There we go. Now that thread would actually work. So let's say I wanted to split this off. I wanted this to be a different part. I drew it accidentally got joined or something. So I go to modify, I can say split body, pick here, pick the splitting tool here, and say okay. Now you can look and see that now that's one body and that's another body. I want to join it back, combine there to there, hit okay, And there it goes. I can also split a face. So like here, split face. And so you might ask why we want to do that. It'll come later when we're doing appearances, but if I wanted half this face to look one way and half to look another way, I could create a sketch. Let's say I'm just going to draw a line here. And so I can modify split face, pick that, splitting tool, pick the line, and say okay. So now that's two different faces. So now I could, if I went into the appearances, I can make the whole thing look blue, but then I can make that one part of the face be green, whatever. So that's mainly what the split faces is used for. But also it could be that now I want this side of this face to do something different. I want to be able to draft so like that. So now half that face will bend at an angle. I can bend both sides there based on that splitting line. So that could be an option. We'll do this replace face later when we get to solids. So we don't usually use those other ones. Whole thread. All right. So I'm going to undo that and undo that. So the next one I want to talk about is this emboss. So an emboss is just a surface, something on the surface, either up or down onto it. So I'm going to create a sketch here. And I'm just going to draw a line straight over and up and here. You notice that goes past the edge of the part because I want it to wrap around there. But if I move my mouse in here, you can see it's broken up into two segments. That's because this line here automatically was created when I started the sketch there. So I'm going to make that a construction line. So now when I go here, I pick and it's just one profile. So I'm going to finish the sketch. Create, emboss. I'm going to pick that profile. I'm going to turn on tangent chain and pick the faces. And you can see that it's taking that and it's kind of rotating it around the part. And I can tell it here, either deboss, so going in, or emboss coming up. I can adjust the distance and everything. I can also use these ones to move where that's placed. I could rotate around if I wanted to and put it there. So now that's on that surface. Did I shell this? No. Go into shell. It's not going to let me shell it because of the threads. Because it's trying to shell each one of those threads. I should have thought about that before I did this. So if you want to have something shelled that has a boss with the threads, do it earlier. So oh, the whole command's gone. I didn't keep my hole. So sometimes the order that you do things does matter a little bit. Since I can't. Oh, there we go. So I was able to delete the top of the counterbore and delete that. And so now I can just delete that out. Sometimes things lock up. If the computer locks up, don't mess with it. Just sit back and relax and let it do its thing and figure it out. If you keep going in trying to do things, it's gonna get messed up. See the emboss. So it's making it take longer too. So I'm just gonna say okay. So if I do a new sketch, I go here and I draw some lines in here and finish, and I go in here and go to web. I can pick those edges and give some thickness, and it's going to go down and it's going to extrude that all the way to the next thing. So you can see depth options. I could also just give it a depth and tell it how far to go, and so it'll only go down that far. The thickness tells it how thick each of those webs is supposed to be. So if you need to make a grate or something like that, this will work for that. Okay, so that's web. We'll get to rib later. So emboss, whole thread, shell, chamfer, fillet, the splits. Use those. There's also thicken. So if I want to make this face here a little bit thicker. Oh, I guess that thicken only works on the surfaces. So never mind, we'll get to that later. But I could use push pull to make this one a little bit thicker if I needed to, or whatever. So, all right, try out these placed features. See how you can include them in your models for your portfolio and the project and everything. All right, bye.